Since ancient times, the sacred books have held keys of wisdom that only a few were able to interpret. Among them, the book of Genesis is not only the beginning of creation, but also a spiritual manual on how abundance manifests in human life. Every metaphor, every word, and every symbol hides secrets that were not written only to tell a story, but to transmit universal laws that govern prosperity, wealth, and growth. Those men and women who learned to decode these signs became capable of achieving riches that go far beyond material things, reaching influence, power, legacy, and above all, spiritual connection with the source of all creation. Napoleon Hill used to say that wealth begins as an idea that needs to be planted, watered, and nurtured until it becomes reality. Interestingly, in Genesis we find exactly this pattern: the seed sown into the ground, the process of cultivation, and the multiplied harvest. This is the perfect metaphor for money and prosperity. The wealthy understood that life works like fertile soil. What you plant in the mind, water with emotion, and protect with faith will inevitably bear fruit. But why do most people not see this? Because they look at Genesis only as history, not as a spiritual code. When God said, "Let there be light," He was showing that every creation begins with a word, a decree, a clear intention. This is the same dynamic millionaires and billionaires still use today. They create mental images, affirm words of power, believe before they see, and only then reap results in the physical world. Maybe you have wondered why some seem destined for wealth while others struggle their entire lives without moving forward. The answer is not luck, but understanding. Those who grasp the secret of Genesis know that wealth is not something you desperately chase outside yourself, but something you manifest from the inside out. It is vibration, it is faith, it is vision, it is aligned action. As you follow this script, you will discover that every stage of creation described in Genesis carries a practical lesson for your financial life. You will realize that there are 7 stages of prosperity, reflected in the 7 days of creation, which repeat every time someone decides to transform an idea into reality. And more, you will understand why the wealthy use these principles daily, even when some don't realize they are applying biblical wisdom. So open your mind, take a deep breath, and get ready. What you are about to hear is not just another video about the law of attraction or prosperity. It is a powerful revelation that can change your relationship with money forever. And in the middle of this video, I will ask you to comment if you have ever experienced something like this, because sharing experiences activates even more the collective energy of abundance. Now, let's dive together into the secret of Genesis that the rich understood and still use today. In Genesis, it is written, "Let there be light." These 3 words carry a power that few have understood. The first movement of creation was not material, but spiritual and vibrational. Before anything physical existed, there was decision, decree, and the word that brought clarity. The wealthy understood this secret. Every achievement begins with an act of inner illumination, a clear and firm vision of where they want to go. Without this light, the mind remains in chaos, like the earth before creation. Napoleon Hill taught that burning desire is the starting point of all riches. That desire is the "let there be light" in our lives. It is the decision to see possibility when everyone around still sees darkness. When you decide to turn on that light within you, you start to reorganize the chaos of your reality. Ideas arise, paths appear, and the impossible begins to look like opportunity. The secret is that the light is not external. It is generated by your faith, your imagination, and your words. Millionaires know this, which is why they spend more time mentally projecting than simply executing without direction. They understand that inner clarity creates outer order. And here I ask you, Have you ever experienced a moment when everything seemed dark, but a single idea brought hope and opened a path? Share your experience in the comments, because every testimony strengthens this collective energy. On the second day of creation, God separated the waters and established the firmament. This powerful scene symbolizes something essential for prosperity: mental clarity and the discipline to separate what serves from what doesn't. The wealthy learn that to grow, one must create boundaries, set priorities, and organize thoughts. Without separation, everything mixes together and confusion dominates. Water in the Bible represents both abundance and instability. Separating the waters means bringing order into life's flow, distinguishing between emotion and reason, between faith and fear, between real opportunities and distractions. Those who prosper are not those who do everything, but those who know how to say no to what drains energy and yes to what multiplies results. Napoleon Hill said the mind needs a definite purpose, and without it, energy disperses. That firmament described in Genesis is like purpose dividing heaven and earth, an invisible line that directs all future construction. Just as architects build skyscrapers on solid foundations, millionaires build empires on the clarity of their choices. And here's the key: when you bring order to your mind and discipline to your habits, life opens up. Ask yourself today, what do I need to separate from my routine, my thoughts, and my beliefs so abundance can flow without obstacles? On the third day, Genesis shows dry land appearing and plants sprouting. This reveals a principle the rich understand deeply. Every seed needs fertile ground. The land symbolizes our mind and beliefs, and the seeds represent the ideas we plant. If the mind is filled with stones of doubt and thorns of fear, no idea will grow. But if it is prepared with faith, discipline, and expectation, the harvest is inevitable. The wealthy know that every thought is a seed. They cultivate images of abundance and reject seeds of scarcity. While many waste time feeding worries, they choose to feed possibilities. As Hill said, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Conception is the seed, belief is the water that makes it grow. Another powerful point is that plants grow in silence. You don't need to prove to everyone that you are planting something big. Just trust the process. Time is the great ally of those who respect the cycle of sowing. Those who want immediate results often pull the seed out before it germinates. Ask yourself, what seeds have I been planting in my mind? Am I sowing hope or fear, abundance or scarcity? The truth is that the harvest never fails. It only reflects what you decided to plant. On the fourth day, God created the luminaries, the sun, the moon, and the stars, to govern day and night and serve as signs for times and seasons. This is profound because it shows that prosperity does not happen in chaos, but within cycles, organization, and clear vision. The sun represents the energy of purpose, that which illuminates and gives direction. The moon symbolizes reflection, phases, and the adjustments we need to make along the way. And the stars, those small points of light, remind us there will always be signs guiding our journey. The wealthy understand that wealth is not just about accumulating, but about knowing the right time to sow, reap, invest, and expand. They respect life's cycles and carefully observe the signs. Napoleon Hill said successful people develop the ability to make quick decisions and change them slowly because they trust their vision. That vision is like the sun. When you have clarity, nothing can dim your inner light. The great lesson is that you need beacons to guide your walk. Without clear goals, energy disperses. With clear goals, you attract opportunities vibrating at the same frequency. Millionaires do not walk in the dark. They have calendars, deadlines, financial goals, and visions of the future. Life then ceases to be random and becomes a reflection of what they decided to see. On the fifth day, God created the sea creatures and the birds of the air. This symbolizes expansion and multiplication of life. Prosperity follows the same principle. What is well cared for grows and expands. The rich know money is like a living organism that must circulate, multiply, and move. Hoarding with fear imprisons abundance. Investing wisely allows it to flow like schools of fish, spreading through the seas. The birds represent higher vision, the ability to see beyond the immediate. While many remain stuck in present difficulties, the prosperous look from above, like an eagle seeing the entire horizon. This gives them advantage because they perceive opportunities others cannot. Napoleon Hill spoke of the power of the mastermind, the mind in harmony with others. Here lies another key. Prosperity is not built alone. Just as animals multiply in communities, wealth flourishes in networks of relationships, partnerships, and exchanges. Those who understand this secret do not only compete, but collaborate, creating ecosystems that nourish everyone. The question for you is, have I allowed my ideas and resources to multiply, or am I imprisoning them out of fear? Prosperity is movement, and it only grows when you release it. On the sixth day, God created man in his own image and likeness. This is the greatest secret of all. We carry within us the DNA of the Creator, the ability to co-create, imagine, and transform into reality. The wealthy understood they are not victims of chance, but authors of their destiny. They believe deeply in their creative identity, which is why they dare to dream big, start impossible projects, and persist when others give up. Being in the image of God means possessing creative power. Every thought, every word, and every action are brushstrokes painting the canvas of your life. The poor in mind believe wealth is out of reach. The rich know wealth is an extension of who they are. They don't ask permission to prosper because they recognize prospering is honoring their divine essence. Napoleon Hill always emphasized, the greatest capital is not in the bank, but in the human mind. It is in the mind that the future is decided, destiny is established. True abundance begins when you recognize you were born with authority to create. Remember this. Abundance does not begin when you receive it, but when you recognize yourself as its source. If this video touched your heart, like, share, and subscribe. And leave in the comments, have you ever felt this creative power within you? After creating man, God gave an order: be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. This verse is not only about physical reproduction, but a spiritual command of expansion. Humanity was created to grow, multiply talents, and dominate circumstances. The rich understood that dominion does not mean oppression, but awareness, that life responds to your vibration. When you see yourself as a creator, the entire earth becomes fertile ground. To be fruitful means to produce results. To multiply is to amplify those results. To fill the earth is to leave a legacy that outlives generations. And to subdue is to understand you are not a slave to the economy, government, or crisis, but someone who can create opportunities in any scenario. Hill said winners don't wait for perfect conditions. They create the conditions they need. This mindset directly reflects the divine call to rule. The great question is, are you merely surviving or are you multiplying? Prosperity is not only about money, but about expanding gifts, ideas, businesses, and impact. Every act of faith brings you closer to God's original plan of abundance. The seventh day of creation brings a principle many ignore: rest. After all his work, God rested. This does not mean inactivity, but trust. Rest is faith in action. It is knowing that after sowing, watering, and caring, you must release and trust the process. Many never prosper because they live in anxiety, trying to control every detail, suffocating their own harvest. The wealthy understood the power of strategic rest. They work intensely, but also know when to pause, reflect, and renew the mind. That pause connects them with new ideas, expands creativity, and strengthens intuition. Hill warned that an overloaded mind loses power, but a balanced mind generates brilliant solutions. Resting is vibrating in certainty, not doubt. It is trusting the universe conspires in favor of those who align thought, emotion, and action. When you release anxiety, you make room for opportunities to flow naturally. Prosperity does not come only from effort, but from the ability to trust that the seed will bloom in its appointed time. Looking at the entire narrative of Genesis, we realize wealth is not chance, but the result of a divine process that can be repeated in any life. From let there be light to rest, there is a map of prosperity. Clarity, order, sowing, vision, multiplication, creative identity, expansion, and trust. The wealthy apply this pattern daily, often without realizing they are echoing the very manual of creation. Hill said, "Success leaves clues." Genesis is one of those clues, perhaps the oldest of all. The difference between those who prosper and those who don't lies in seeing this book not just as history, but as a code. When you understand your mind is fertile ground, your words are seeds, and your faith is the water that makes them sprout, then nothing can stop your harvest. Today, the invitation is simple. Choose to live according to this secret. Recognize yourself as a co-creator, feed your light, separate what does not serve, plant good seeds, respect cycles, multiply gifts, and rest in faith. Prosperity is not far away. It is already within you.